Hey, family, sometimes the wounds in marriage don't necessarily come from infidelity or from betrayal. Sometimes they come from careless words. It's the ones that's spoken in the wrong moment with the wrong tone that stick like glue in our hearts. Today, I'm gonna tell you about a story. I'm gonna make up some names, boy. Tim, his wife Carla, and their 16-year-old son, Tim Jr. That's not their names, but that's beside the point. But the story is about embarrassment. The story is about ego. The story is about the difference between minimization and empathy. And I want to talk about how to repair trust when words cut deeper than anyone intended. Oh, this is such a good one. Today on The Certified Man.
Driven by purpose, walking God's plan. You're looking at a certified man.
Here we go. Y'all ready? Told you it's a lot. So the son, Tim Jr., like many teenage boys, maybe not even unlike my own when he was a teenager, when they were teenagers, he's worried about his body. Well, one night in a vulnerable moment, he tells his mama, Carla, he said, "Mama, I think my size is small." She's like, "What you talking about, your size?" He said, he said, "Yes." Like, what if it never grows? Well, like most moms, the goal is to reassure your child. But how she did it is what I believe is kind of messed up. She said, "It's okay."
I mean, hey, listen, I married your dad and he got a small one too. Ooh, I can't even. She said, "I married your dad and he got a small one. You might be just like him." And let me say something. It turned out fine for him, didn't it? I mean, don't you think your mama's a baddie? Don't you think your mama's a baddie? You'll be all right.
So fast forward a few weeks later, the dad, Tim Sr., he's joking around with his son. He's like, "Hey, dads be having that vibrato sometimes." He said, "Hey, don't worry. By the time you get to my age, popping collars and everything, by the time you get my age, everything bigger." You know what I mean? Everything bigger. Tim Jr., I would like to say he didn't really know what he was saying, but he was 16. He said, "Yeah, but mommy said you got a small one like me."
No, God, please, no.
Oh. So he froze, of course. He froze. He's looking, trying to keep his face, trying to keep himself together. He was shocked. He was humiliated. But the main one was shame. So he said whatever he had to say, kind of got out of that situation. But he was salty with Carla. But it took him a little while to kind of figure out how he was going to handle it. He didn't say anything to her right away, but it was eating him alive. So here's the conflict. The conflict is when he talked to her. Watch this. So he finally brought it up to her. She brushed it off. She said, "Y'all, you men and y'all egos. I don't even see what the problem is. Why you care so much about that? Why you care about that so much? It didn't stop you from marrying me. We got together. What's the issue?" Wow. Let me say this. So, the interesting part is, as much as I want to demonize Carla, it would not have bit Tim that much if he hadn't already had shame around that area in the first place. And I think that before we start having all of these platitudes and these anecdotes about how we should move and how other people should handle us and what other people should say, I think the first thing that we need to have a conversation with is ourselves. Because if it didn't bother you before the conversation, it should not have bothered you after the conversation. Meaning this, you can say to me, "Hey, Bowe, with your dark-skinned self," I would say, "Chocolatey, it's amazing." That's what I would say, because I'm not triggered by my skin. And unless you are triggered by something that you already feel pain about, then it doesn't bother you when somebody else says it. Or, like if I was walking down the mall and somebody would say, hey, Philip, I know you're gonna turn around because my name is KD. Like I don't respond to what ain't me. So in this case, I would imagine that they never had the conversation about this. I ain't got to imagine. I know the real situation, so I can say it like that. They never had the conversation, but in his mind, he already knew, or he already felt like, hey man, I ain't working with nothing, and I'm grateful that I got her. Maybe she ain't really tripping. Maybe she don't realize, maybe I ain't as small as I thought. But it wasn't until she said that to the son that now his fears were confirmed. Man, so she knows. And she then tells my son? So that's the pain. That's the pain point. And I think, and we're going to get to how to fix this, but until we start looking at what we're thinking about ourselves first and deal with that and come to peace with that and how we talk to ourselves about ourselves, it's going to be kind of hard, really inauthentic, to have a real authentic conversation with somebody else, okay? So Terrence Real would say in this situation that it wasn't about ego, but it was about dignity. So Carla may have intended to comfort her son, but the impact, again, we already talked about this, impact is more important than intention. It's bigger than intention. It's greater than intention. It's not what you intended to do. It's what the impact actually made that needs to get the attention. Although she wanted to comfort her son, that was the intention. The impact was humiliation for both her son and her husband. When you minimize, you say, I don't even know what the big deal is. That's what minimization is. I mean, what's the big deal? And can I be honest with y'all? That's actually a form of gaslighting because it denies the emotional reality of the people that you love. They're going through something. And here you are talking about something that ain't no big deal. How do you repair it? Well, I'm going to say how Tim probably should have responded. Well, I know he didn't respond like this at first. When we coached him, he eventually got here. He was able to say, Carla, hey, baby, I need you to understand, when you said that to our son, it didn't just embarrass me. It embarrassed him. You made both of us feel small. I mean, in more ways than one. And I know you don't see it as a big deal. I know. But to us, it was. For Tim Jr., you already know he's insecure. And now his mama just tied his fear to me. And for me, it wasn't just about size. It ain't not about size, but it wasn't just about size. It was about safety. Babe, I want to feel safe with you. And I don't feel safe when something that private becomes a punchline, whether you intended that or not. I don't feel safe. So I'm not asking you to agree with how I feel, because I want you to feel like you feel. I just need you to respect that this cut me deep. And I want your buy-in to help rebuild the safety between us. Whew. That's a way to repair it. So how can Carla respond in a way that is healthy? All right. She could say, hey, Tim, I didn't realize that landed so deep with you. Baby, you're right. I definitely dismissed it. I was lightened in the moment, at least I thought I was, but I see that I ended up hurting both of y'all, and I'm sorry. I'm moving forward. I'm gonna be mindful about the things I say, especially about things this sensitive. I am grown, okay? I know my husband. I know when you get out of the shower, you hopping, putting towel on all fast. I know you ain't all the way comfortable, and I'd never said anything out loud, but I just respected it because I love you. I love you. And I will make sure that Tim Jr. hears from me that he ain't got nothing to be ashamed of. Now, some guys may not want to have a conversation. You just want to swallow your pride, right? And just keep it moving. Let me tell you why you can't do that. and why Tim couldn't do that with Carla. Because silence, it may feel safer in the short term, but it breeds resentment. You hear me? It breeds resentment, and resentment is like rust. It's going to slowly eat away at the foundation of intimacy. And if he don't speak up, and for those of you that are in situations like this, if you don't speak up, they're never going to learn the impact of their words. And they go on thinking it ain't no big deal. While you, Tim, your dignity is quietly bleeding out. And I think it is unfair for us to experience something so deeply and you don't even give them the opportunity to self-correct. Well, they ain't gonna do it. Ain't no sense of doing that. You don't know. You know what I learned? I learned there was a version of my wife that I was getting. And I realized that I was not giving her the version that I was giving the world. I'm showing up in a certain way, certain swag, certain both the saint and the savage to the world. But to my wife, I'm just trying to, I'm trying to make sure that the saint is in place, trying to make sure that my delicate flower is not hurt. All the while, I wasn't getting the version from her that everybody else was giving me. And it wasn't until counseling, they made it clear to me, hey, you got to show her both sides. And it's unfair for her. It's unfair to her for you to think that she will not be able to handle that version of you when you've never showed her. It's another Oprah for another day. Terrence Real would say it like this, that the unspoken truth is the graveyard of relationships. I know I said a lot, I'm saying it again. Unspoken truth is the graveyard of relationships. So you got to talk to your wife, not accuse her, but to protect the ecosystem of your marriage and some of you, your relationship. Because repair only happens when truth is on the table. You feel me? Let me move on. All right, so why does Tim need to talk to his son? Even though it's uncomfortable. Because if he does not, his son's story about himself is going to get written by shame. And that one comment from his mama could turn into a lifelong wound if it's not corrected. And Tim Jr. needs to hear his father's voice. Oh, I felt that. Say, hey, you not defined by this. Your worth ain't measured by that. And what matters most is how you live, not what you fear you lack. Family, that's what legacy looks like. You can't let the world or even the words of careless family members define your son. Bro, you rewrite the narrative by showing up in truth and you show up in reassurance. All right? Okay, so why does Tim got to talk to himself? He got to talk to himself because before Tim or you can lead your wife or lead your son through repair, you got to repair the shame inside your own chest. And this ain't about size. See, we think it's about size. This is about safety and dignity. You got to remind yourself, my worth as a man is not hanging between my legs. My worth is in how I show up. My worth is in how I love people, how I protect the loved ones that I've been called to lead. Let me stop here. Because in my mind, I'm hearing people say, yeah, that's the thing that people say to make you feel better. That's the thing people say because, they don't want you feeling bad about yourself. If that is your retort, I'm here to tell you that you are living in a frame or you're living in a story that is not in alignment with truth. I'm telling you that's a Western, for the most part, that's a Western mindset. That's because you've been watching a lot of TV. Some watching a lot of porn. It's another Oprah. But I'm saying to you, you got to talk to yourself and you got to deal with that unspoken shame. Because if you don't, it's going to fester into insecurity. And a lot of y'all are very, very insecure. And insecurity, when it's left unchecked, it's going to sabotage every single attempt at connection with your family, with your children, your business, the whole nine. And shame, listen, shame just don't stop at marriage. It moves everywhere. Hey, bro, so let's zoom out for a minute. Why do so many men, even the strong, confident men, tie their value to what's between their legs? Some would say it's cultural, locker room jokes, pornography, the way boys clown you in middle school. But I'm saying we have been taught a lie that our worth as men is measured by performance and size. That's toxic patriarchy. At least that's what Terrence Real would call it. Toxic patriarchy. It reduces manhood to dominance and comparison instead of dignity and connection. And when we buy into it, we live with a silent measuring stick, always wondering whether or not we measure up. And here's the cost. When we attach our value to size, we set ourselves up for shame. Because no matter how blessed you are, there's always going to be comparison. It's always going to be somebody with something else. Somebody with always has got more. And shame don't just stay in the bedroom. So I was talking about earlier, it leaks into how we parent, how we argue, how we see ourselves in the mirror. How do we reframe it? All right, so Terrence Real is my guy. He said manhood isn't in your anatomy, it's in your integrity. Believe it or not, no matter what she says or anybody says, your wife did not marry your size. Your children don't respect your size. God doesn't measure your size. He knows it. He ain't tripping. What matters is how you show up when things get tough. How you protect, how you provide. Not just materially, but how you do that emotionally. How you love with consistency. Humility. Courage, bro. That is the measure of a certified man. And if you've carried shame in this area, hear me, your body is not a joke. Your worth has never been defined by comparison. When that old tape in your head starts playing, talking about I'm not good enough, answer it with saying I am enough because of how I live, how I love, and how I lead. Those are things that I can control. Strongest men are not the ones who measure up are the world's ruler. Strongest men are the ones who throw away the ruler altogether. You are so much more than you know. Stop minimizing yourself to an anatomy. Here's the truth. I'm going to wrap this thing up. Tim got to talk to his wife, got to talk to his son, got to talk to himself. Because each conversation restores a different layer of trust. With his wife, he's going to restore marital safety. With his son, he's going to restore generational dignity. And with himself, he's going to restore the foundation of his own manhood. And bro, you got to throw away the ruler, man. You are not measured in inches. You're measured by integrity, by consistency, and by love. And anybody that wants to put you in that space of feeling value and feeling worth from that person ain't for you. And you got to be okay with that. Don't run from the difficult talks. Lean into it. Because silence is where shame grows. That's why I'm talking about this. It is not comfortable for me to be talking about come on, you know what I mean? But silence is where shame grows. And truth is where intimacy is reborn. And it can flourish. Hey, bro, you are beautifully and wonderfully made. Bowe, you calling me beautiful? Yeah, bro. I'm calling you beautiful. You're beautifully and wonderfully made. I love you. God loves you. You just got to learn to love yourself. Man up.
Driven by purpose, walking God's plan. You're looking at a certified man. Looking at a certified